The mechanical keyboard community in the Philippines has been riding on the Rakk Kimat's hype train, but they seem to forget about its brother, which is the Rakk Apiq. Coming around at the same price point, which is 2,200 pesos, you have the option of going for this or the Kimat. What stands out from the Kimat is the epic RGB lighting effects, leaving the Apiq in the shadows. But still, I believe that the choice of keyboard depends on the user. A certain keyboard fits a certain audience, hence why there is various form factors and switches. So a shout out to EasyPC for actually sending the both of these keyboards. They actually sponsored this video, but that doesn't mean I will hold back on my criticisms about these both keyboards. So basically, the similarities between the Rakk Apiq and the Rakk Kimat are very few. You have the same double shot keycaps with exactly the same font, the same gate-around black switches with translucent housing. In terms of build quality and design, the main differences here are the materials. For the Kimat, you have an aluminum finish at the front and glossy plastic at the back, but on the other side, Apiq has a full plastic matte finish from bottom to top. I would say the Apiq has an advantage here because glossy is better than matte, but the glossy finish on the Kimat is on the bottom, which you can rarely notice. Since the Apiq is made out of plastic, it does show a little signs of flex compared to the Kimat, which would require a really strong force to start bending. In terms of design, the Apiq has a full 104 key layout with a numpad keys, which gives it a size of roughly 18 inches by 6.5 inches. This is significantly more heavy compared to the Kimat. They also added some space at the end, which personally I like because I find it more comfortable to type when there's a bit of space between my palm and the keycaps. At the lower right portion of the keyboard, you have a printed Rakk branding, which is way better compared to the plastic attached on the Kimat. On the Kimat, you have a very compact design with an 87 key layout. It is more compact than the Apiq with a rough size of 14 by 5 inches. You have a detachable USB cable, but the Apiq does not, which makes sense because the Apiq isn't meant to be portable. For the Kimat, you have a flip-out feet, which the Apiq is lacking because it already has an angle design. Personally, this is okay with me because I like my keyboard to be a bit angled and slanted. For the lighting effects, I can't even begin. The Kimat is just so superior compared to the Apiq. If you want to see the full lighting effects, click the note on the screen. If you already saw it, then go on and continue watching this video. Basically, the Apiq has a different color for each row, which honestly I find really distracting. This has a set of lighting effects too, but again, it just can't compete with the Kimat. This would have been so better if they decided to stick with a single color backlight, and this goes for the effects too. I don't care what color it is, just give me a single color rather than a multicolor row, which is kind of distracting. It bothers me to the point where I set a custom macro and only turn on the home keys. On the bright side, it's September, bear months are here, so you already have an alternative Christmas light. But kidding aside though, it does have 10 programmable macro keys, which doesn't make sense given the fact that the lighting customizability is very limited because of a multicolor row. The 10 key macro slot is most likely overkill since this isn't an RGB keyboard like the Kimat where you can program your hearts out. For typing, they have the same feel, of course, given the switches, but they do have a different sound. Personally, I like the Rakk Apiq better because it sounds more quiet and deep compared to the Rakk Kimat, which has a high-pitched clack when you bottom out the keys. And the form factor of the Apiq makes it really comfortable to type on for people who are used to a full key layout. Even I, personally, when I moved to a TKL layout, it took me some time to get used to. Here's the quick sound test. To conclude this video, let me say this, the Apiq is a really good keyboard. The switches are great and at this price point, again, you can't complain. I personally like the build, comfortable for typing, which is essential for me because I am a heavy typist. I know Gateron Brown or a Gateron Blue would be better, but the Rakk mechanical keyboard lineup is the first option for normal consumers, average consumers like me, and consumers like other people. But because of the very high standard that the Kimat has set, it's really hard to pick the Apiq over the Kimat, even though I'm comfortable with the Apiq and even though I need the numpad key because I often use it, I will go through the struggle of adjusting for the sake of aesthetics and effects that the Kimat has in store. But of course, everything that I say here, please take it with a grain of salt. The choice of keyboard is very subjective. Some people might like the multicolor row, some people might like a single color. It isn't the same for different people. By the end of the day, it's still your choice on what keyboard to buy, which keyboard you would like best compared to another. It's just that the reason behind my conclusion is that Easy Peasy did a very great job on the Rakk Kimat. And when they switch to the Apiq, it seems a little meh. The Rakk Kimat has set the standard so high that you would expect that their other keyboard would be as high as well. So that's it for this video. Leave a like down below if you liked it, leave a dislike if you didn't like it, and if you want to ask some questions, leave a comment down below. And as always, this is Dylan, and don't forget to hit subscribe.